Now that September has rolled along, a lot of people are actually out of degrees, they're finished their programs, or maybe they're out of high school, maybe they've been out of school for many years, maybe they don't even have a teacher. For people like this who want to play classical guitar, or any type of guitar or instrument for that matter, how do they approach the difficult task of being their own best teacher? This phrase, being your own best teacher, is one of the key elements of El Sistema, which is a Venezuelan school of teaching. And I really believe in this philosophy, becoming your own best teacher, because nobody knows you better than you. So here are 5 ways that you can use your own self-knowledge and develop your own self-knowledge to become the best teacher you can be. So the first thing that we can do to make ourselves the best teacher we can be for ourselves is to record ourselves. A lot of times when I ask my students to do this, even for myself, I find it very, very stressful. This is because a lot of us are already perfectionists. We don't really want to hear more things we're doing wrong when we play for ourselves. So we may already be very critical of our playing. Others may be very critical of our playing and have very high expectations of us. When we record ourselves, this is an even higher standard we're setting, because we're setting our own standard. This is very important, however, because it keeps you honest. It keeps you paying attention to your sound in a way that is much more nuanced, much more detail-oriented. You'll hear all the little buzzes, all the lack of cleanliness in your sound, all the nail clicking. If you're a guitarist, for violinists, you'll hear tuning issues you never knew you had. There's all kinds of different issues depending on the instrument. But we know that it's difficult recording ourselves because most people have recorded their own voice when they're speaking. And hearing that is always very difficult. I'm always surprised by the way I actually sound on camera or on video. But that's actually how I sound, and I have to accept it. I mean, the evidence is there. So another thing that allows you, that gives you a lot of benefit when you're recording yourself, is the fact that it helps you create a performance simulation environment. So actually performing in front of a recording is a very stressful situation in itself, whether or not you're critically evaluating it, because you want to get it right, you want to get it perfect, and that's probably how you feel when you're in a performance. So make sure that you do that on a regular basis, just for the feeling, just to get your adrenaline going, just to simulate what it's like when 1,000 people are watching you play. So recording yourself is by far the most essential thing you can do to improve your sound, improve your playing, and just improve as a player without a teacher. You'll save hours and hours of lesson time. So a second thing you can do to improve your playing and become your own best teacher is to play in front of a mirror. Actually, this is a very, very helpful process because you can see what you're doing in real time. So you can notice your shoulders may be raising when you're playing. You may find that you move your feet in really awkward angles, or your legs in really awkward angles. You might not be aligned when you're playing. You might find a lot of problems in your fretting hand. Maybe you're hyperextending your wrist in some way. And all of these problems can be seen in the moment when you work with a mirror. Or maybe 2, or maybe 3 is even better. So finding those little tension issues will be really improved by that. Alexander technique is a very famous system that's been used by musicians, actors, and all kinds of performing artists for almost a century now. And Alexander technique was actually designed by Frederick Matthias Alexander. And what he noticed was that he was performing on stage regularly and he lost his voice. And when he lost his voice, he went to all these doctors and they couldn't help him. So what he did was, for years and years and years, he sat in front of several different mirrors that were, and examined himself from many different angles in order to learn more about his own movements. And eventually he was able to isolate some of the flaws that were causing him to lose his voice, to strain his voice, and improve himself greatly. So using a mirror is a great way to teach yourself how to deal with your tension issues, how to deal with all of the problems holding back your technique in playing. Also helps you for really awkward things you might do when you're playing. Some people, you know, they have really awkward guitar faces that aren't really helpful expressively. They're just, I'm guilty of this myself. They're just too much. And so actually seeing it in action can help mitigate that if you find it overwhelming. You might find it a little awkward. And chances are if you find it awkward, it's awkward for your audience. So using a mirror is really, really important. So the third thing you can do to become your own best teacher is to use your creativity when you're playing. So when we're young, we're taught all these different exercises by our teacher, and we do them diligently. They may be studies, they may be exercises, and we just practice them because we have to. But to really understand the fretboard, to really understand, you know, the fingerboard of a violin, to understand all of the keys of the piano, and to really understand how to navigate the challenges of each of your instruments, you should be writing material for your instrument. You should be taking problems that you find in your pieces and making exercises out of them. This is the very best way to, you know, increase your knowledge of your instrument. And what that allows you to do is it gives you many different frameworks from which you can understand your technique and your musical playing. It can help you to not only perform the material that is prescribed, but to actually write down that material, which helps you with another process, which helps you listen, which helps you, you know, navigate and improvise, do all these other different things that you can do with your instrument. So being able to improvise and use your creativity with exercises that you create yourself will really help you understand your instrument. And you'll find that the best performers in every instrument, the people who really innovate in their instrument, are usually people who also write their own material. So really go out and make your own pieces on your instrument, even if you are the only person who plays them. So the fourth thing you can do to improve your playing is to be self-critical about your practice habits. This ties in with everything else we've already said. So this means that you should actually maybe record your own practice sessions when you're alone. It means that you should not only practice a lot and do all the things we're talking about, but actually pay attention to the kind of material you're practicing. Are you working, you know, for hours and hours on one section of a piece that's not useful? Try to make sure that all of the material you have to cover is being covered in a systematic way. You should have some kind of system to involve that. Some people, they use an A-B method, where they do half of their rep on one day and the rest of their rep on the other day. Some people only practice their ensemble music on one day. Some people only practice their solo music on another day. It's all up to you, but develop a strategy for when you practice and analyze your strategy. Allow it to constantly change by critically evaluating what you're doing. And doing this, if you already have a teacher, with your teacher, can be very, very helpful and insightful. You can really open your mind, because that's really what a teacher's about. They're a person who teaches you how to practice. And in order to do that the best way, they need to know what you're actually doing. So really evaluate the way you think when you're practicing. Are you getting distracted all the time? Are you finding you're checking your phone every 5 minutes? Are you focused? Turn your phone into airplane mode and be very critical about what you're doing. Be focused. It may mean you practice less but get more done. So the fifth thing you can do, and the final thing you can do to be your own best teacher, is to be your own coach. And by that I mean you need to have a system on a long-term basis by which you can manage your goals. Now, maybe your goals are being an astronaut. You need to take those goals and you need to reverse engineer them. Okay, that can be a big 10-year goal, but what are you going to do on the way? You break that into yearly steps. And then those are more vague, but more systematic. And then you break them into 6-month goals, weekly goals, and finally daily goals. And your daily goals are your most most detailed goals. So you should have a very clear idea of what you're doing for the week and the day and the month, but also for your entire year as a player. And coaching yourself, this might mean you have a specific set of reps that you need to learn for an audition, for a competition, for a series of recitals you're giving with different ensembles. Each of this music needs to be practiced in a systematic way. You need to give yourself time in the week where you know you're going to work on it each time. And planning that out is very difficult. It takes actual planning. You need to write it down. Using a bullet journal is a very, very good idea to do this. You can find more information about bullet journals in the link below. But it's a really, really good resource to plan your goals and plan your year. Either way, that's really what a teacher is meant to do. They're meant to, help you find through a system what you need to achieve that goal. And that means you need to work with your teacher, even if you have one. Even if you have one, or if you don't have one, you need to have clear goals that you set with them. You need to say, I want to do this by this year. I want to record an album by this year. And they need to help you manage those goals. They need to also tell you if they're realistic. So you can have very large long-term goals, but having small, really, really intense short-term goals is very, very difficult. So you can't be an astronaut in 1 week. You just can't do it. Nobody can do it. Nobody can do it in 1 year. You need a lot of time. So if you want to be a great classical guitarist, you need many, many years of study, but you can break that down into smaller steps. And doing that is the only way to really, both capitalize the time you have with a teacher, and if you're by yourself, capitalize the time you spend working on your instrument. So to cap things off, it's really difficult for teachers to explain everything that is going on in their head, every single piece of knowledge that they've ever acquired through all of their years of study, and they don't really have enough time in 1 hour to tell you everything you need to know to be your own best teacher. And if you're completely on your own and you're out in the real world doing things, or if you're a self-taught artist, you still need strategies in order to make yourself as motivated and as efficient as possible in the time you spend with your instrument, because life gets in the way. All these different things get in the way. So I really hope you enjoyed some of the things that I talked about. If there's anything I left out, or there's anything you'd like to add, please comment below. If you like the channel and you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe. Thank you to Naoko Tsujita for filming this. I really appreciate the help I was getting with that. So yeah, thank you so much to all my teachers who have helped me on this road, and good luck.